Despite Vice City being one of my favorite GTA games, I wasn't planning to make a video about it because I thought everyone already knew all its secrets. After all, the game will turn 23 years old this year. That's just incredible. But in the comments of my previous video about GTA 5 facts, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, you can check it out through the link in the description. You asked me to make a similar video about Vice City, and of course, I can't refuse you. So let's get started. And the first thing I'd like to begin with, while Vice City is a cult classic in the series, it's now technically outdated, which is why there are many mods that improve the graphics, physics, and many other aspects. But developers from Revolution Team, just a couple of guys, spent several years transferring the entire game to the Rage engine from GTA 4. This might sound simple, but they literally transferred the entire game. Thanks to this, they achieved new lighting that finally works properly, not like in the definitive edition. Modern physics like in GTA 4, but preserving the complete atmosphere and story missions. Take-Two, of course, tried to block this mod and even deleted the developers' channels on YouTube and other platforms, but they still released it anyway, and as payback for such treatment, they removed the requirement to own GTA 4, which was initially needed to run the modification. So this is a perfect opportunity not only to feel nostalgic about this cult game, but also to replay it with new graphics after watching this video. You can actually check if the secrets and facts from this video are in the mod version too, and let us know in the comments. I believe many of you remember that memorable mission called All Hands on Deck. In this mission, we need to help Colonel Cortez defend his yacht from approaching French attackers. Actually, in my experience, this mission is unique not because of its setting or gameplay, but because of a glitch I stumbled upon relatively recently. I'm sure you know that in this mission, the French attack us using two types of boats, either large speedboats or small one-person dinghies, though somehow two guys can fit on those. So here's the thing, we can kill all the shooters on each boat, and considering the game has invisible walls around the yacht, we can actually land on one of these boats. Of course, you need to do this carefully. Remember the game's main feature, right? This way we can escape from Colonel Cortez's yacht, but just make sure not to go under the bridge with the boats, because they'll literally get stuck. If you ignore all the mission conditions, despite the fact that Colonel Cortez is still being attacked by the French and we need to hurry, we need to find the shore. Once we do that, we should immediately head toward North Point Mall. Actually, we can reach land right next to this shopping center. Going inside, we might remember that there's an infurnace on a pedestal in the mall that we can easily get into. And here's the thing, this infurnace has a unique property where as soon as Tommy enters it, he automatically fails the All Hands on Deck mission. Colonel Cortez will be dead, and most importantly, will be teleported back to the pier at the mission marker. But now Tommy will be in a ghost town. Of course, ghost towns aren't new, but the point is that the city will still be playable, and I think this might even create an additional challenge for players to complete Vice City using only the new Ghost Town features. Nevertheless, some textures will still appear in the game world, but I think this is an interesting bug that raised more questions than answers for me, because when I searched online, I couldn't find any information about how this works. In the Little Havana district, near the ice cream factory building, there's another advertisement for the movie, The Evacuator 2. It shows what appears to be the main character's silhouette, but it's actually the outline of Sylvester Stallone from the second part of the famous cult film, Rambo. By the way, this film series partly inspired the similar Evacuator series in the GTA world. Usually, Rockstar is careful in these cases to avoid violating anyone's rights, but this time they were clever. They used just an outline silhouette that can't really be disputed. The developers added their own touch with a couple of golf clubs and a guitar on the hero's back. I think you remember that to get 100% completion in GTA Vice City, you'll need to do many tedious things. One of these is, of course, driving 100 passengers using a taxi. It doesn't matter which type, either the new model or the old version of the car. And of course, we can't forget the Zebra Mobile that we get after the Cap Maginot mission. But you know what, guys? This task is quite unfriendly, totally optional, and again, it's needed for 100% completion in this game, for which we get an interesting feature. By pressing the horn, Tommy Vercetti can make the taxi jump at any time. The most interesting thing is that the taxi jumps quite high, but to be honest, you can't really have much fun with it. In most cases, it's useful if you're using a ramp. At the very edge, you press the horn again, and you get a higher jump, for which Tommy will get more money. But what if I told you that there's a very little known bug with this horn in GTA Vice City? For this, you need to reassign the horn key to the middle mouse button so that we can scroll the mouse wheel rather than pressing it to trigger the horn. We press the horn, and when the left wheels touch any building in GTA Vice City, we need to carefully and smoothly scroll the mouse wheel to trigger the next horn. It won't work on the first try, and most importantly, the horn needs to be triggered exactly when the game thinks we're on a solid surface. In that case, Tommy can fly far into the sky. Honestly, I first learned about this trick after 20 years of loving this game. Remember the mission Cannon Fodder, which is the second mission in the Cuban storyline? Those who've played since 2017 might get emotional now, but the next fact is related to this mission. Did you know that the Haitian gang in this mission has 2 lines of defense that you can't bypass? The first involves a sniper who constantly camps the entrance to the factory. If we try to take any civilian vehicle and ignore the fact that we need to kill the sniper, the next shot will completely one-shot your vehicle. Moreover, this even applies to a tank, which you would think is bulletproof but is vulnerable to fire. I don't know what the developers coded for this Haitian sniper, but he really can just one-shot your tank. It will first catch fire and then explode before your eyes. It's some kind of nightmare. But there's also a second line of defense in this mission. Remember that stinger that appears literally in the alley when Tommy runs up to it? Well, if you sit in this stinger, it will completely explode. The most surprising thing is that we won't hear any sound if we get into this stinger. It just explodes because it does. It wasn't rigged with a bomb like you can do in 8Ball's garage, but literally programmed to explode instantly. This was probably done so the player couldn't quickly exit the vehicle. At the parking lot where Lance ambushed Tommy at the beginning of the story, you can constantly refresh the vehicles. To do this, just leave the parking area and enter it again. All cars and motorcycles inside will change to new ones, and you might find something suitable for yourself or for completing car delivery missions. A similar trick can be used in GTA San Andreas and Las Venturas, which I've already talked about in one of my Interesting Facts episodes. When I checked this, it turned out that when the main character leaves the parking lot, the scripts clear this area even of the vehicle the player arrived in. Although in other places on the map, a car we've left can stay there for a very long time, so be careful at this parking lot. Here's another interesting discovery on the water. I think few of you have ever sailed boats in GTA Vice City at all, but at least I think you know there are indeed several types, and most of them are parked right near Colonel Cortez's pier. Yes, although we can also take some from the boat station, but that's in the second half of the game. So in GTA Vice City, there's a special boat called the Rio, which you can use to pull off a rather clever and interesting bug. I think many of you, when trying to illegally visit the second island by jumping onto a boat from Starfish Island, have seen this very moment, where the mast goes completely through the bridge and basically nothing happens in the game. Apparently, it has 0 collision detection. But if at this moment we exit the Rio boat, we can run on air, as well as shoot at all pedestrians and cars that will spawn right above Tommy at that moment. Actually, it's quite an interesting bug, however, it was verified specifically in the deluxe version. And in fact, it's only useful for fun if you enter a weapon cheat code, or do it at the very end of the game, especially with a 100% save when ammo will be infinite. The fact that some boats in GTA Vice City don't match the hitboxes of the original model is pretty classic. But the fact that Tommy turns into Jesus and can walk on air is of course fascinating. Well, better than falling into the water, right? Dirty Lickings is the third and final mission against the Haitian gang, where Tommy, using a sniper rifle provided by Anti-Poulet, needs to eliminate all the Cubans so that the Haitians win the final showdown. The most interesting thing is that this mission is meant to be completed using only a sniper rifle. But the fact is, you can actually shoot with absolutely any weapon. However, if you try to attack the Cubans from the ground, the mission will immediately fail. By the way, this is how you can save the sniper rifle for future use, if you didn't know. But what if I told you that this mission can be completed on the ground too? But only in one way. We can complete this mission using any vehicle. Just before running over a Cuban, you need to jump out of it at full speed. Any motorcycle will do, like the PCJ 600. We accelerate, and just before Tommy makes contact with them, we jump off the motorcycle. Moreover, the Cubans will be busy with the Haitians, and at that moment they'll completely ignore Vercetti. That's why I don't recommend using cars, because that way you might hit your own guys. But after the last Cuban dies, the mission will be completed. What do you think about that? In front of the Ocean View Hotel, where Tommy stays after arriving in Vice City, there's always a yellow and white Oceanic car. Every player has used it at least once as the most accessible means of transportation, but few know why the developers gave us this particular car in these colors. All of this is a reference to the Avalon Hotel located in Miami Beach. The feature of this establishment is an old yellow and white Oldsmobile 88 standing near the entrance, which the developers reflected in GTA Vice City. There's a statue in front of the Malibu Club whose quality can be described as somewhat worse than a regular pedestrian. And a small, interesting fact is that in the game files, the texture of this statue contains the words, "very temporary." This indicates that during development, it was a temporary, low-quality image that they planned to replace later, but the folks at Rockstar North never got around to it. In the Ocean Beach area, there's a tourist flight showcase that lists routes to Edinburgh and Tenerife. The first one is clear, and I've already talked about it. As a reminder, Rockstar North is located in Edinburgh, so developers often reference this place and Scotland in general. But regarding the second tourist route, questions may arise, and the creator's choice seems quite unexpected. If you read more about Tenerife, you'll learn that it's one of Spain's most important tourist destinations. However, there's another curious detail that most likely inspired the developer to choose this island out of all the world's resorts. The fact is that the Tenerife flag is almost identical to the Scottish flag, the homeland of Rockstar North. The only difference is that it uses dark blue instead of light blue. The Phoenix car has a cool, detailed feature, a supercharger that actually works when the car is moving. I checked this car in other GTA games, and while you might expect this detail to be missing from the portable Vice City stories, San Andreas was actually a bit disappointing. In this case, the Vice City detail turned out to be more elaborate than in games that came out several years later. Interestingly, when checking this feature without the main character, when an NPC is driving, the supercharger remains motionless. There's one curious and at the same time little-known case where a future GTA game was mentioned in this game. San Andreas was still 2 years away from release, no one knew about this project yet, but you could already hear about this place on the radio in Vice City. This happens on K-Chat Radio during an interview with football player BJM Smith, the same one who appears on the yacht at the beginning of the game and later meets us as the owner of a car dealership.
BJ, man, you're awesome. Here's my question. How'd you play that game against San Andreas with 2 broken legs? Oh, I can't believe I'm talking to you. Wow, man, I don't know what to say. This is the greatest day of my life.
Well, why the hell you call in? Don't worry, I'm a professional. The method I use in the game against SAs is actually a part of my exercise video. When in doubt, go for the groin. I hope that answers your question.
And on that note, we can shed a tear for the times when new GTA games weren't released once every 10 years, but like normal games, every couple of years. Nevertheless, while waiting for the new installment, you can play many old ones that, even after all this time, don't lose their relevance and appeal. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this series, and I'll see you soon in new videos.